Welcome to the Black Mental Health Matters. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Saman. I'm a holistic psychiatrist, researcher, and coach. And we are streaming live to the United States of Africa, Black Mental Health Matters YouTube channel, and LinkedIn Live. Today we will be discussing Black men's mental health and fatherhood, balancing our families, our work, and our wellness. I'm so pleased to have a group of, I was telling them, excellence. We have Dr. Deontay Carter, Kurt Jones, Donald Osgood, Dr. Cloud, Dr. Henderson, and Dr. Marcus Robinson. I would love if you could introduce yourself to the group and our audience and tell us who you are, where you're at, and what you do.
I'll start. My name is Kurt Lamar Jones, and I am an educator and an actor, television, film, as well as a voice actor. I've worked for many years in student affairs as an administrator, counselor, advisor, educator. And I reside currently in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm trying to move back to Charlotte. I love Charlotte, y'all. Just a little sidebar.
All right, who'd like to go next?
I'll follow Curtis and saying thank you for breaking the ice for us. I'm Dr. Marcus Robinson. I'm down in Fort Myers, Florida. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, and spent a lot of time in the Midwest with some of you cats. Mostly Michigan and Illinois, Chicago, Benton Harbor, as it were, up in that area. I'm the founder of the Adaptive Terrain Institute, and we do work in the health and wellness space as well as the civilization civic space, which is to say, we help people navigate how hard it is to be Black, white, brown, blue, and green in the United States of America in 2026, and how do you thrive under this kind of pressure?
Okay. Well, thank you
All
all.
right.
It's a pleasure to join you all for sure. Edward Henderson. I'm in Atlanta, but I'm absolutely a Northeast guy. I'm the president of an organization called My Bridge Home and Friends. We're shaping managed care strategy for underserved communities. I've been a nonprofit past 15, but I started my career in where more recently I've been doing a lot of consulting as relates to FQHC and really structuring along Medicaid and making sure that as we navigate some of the changing guidelines and laws that we're still making sure the most vulnerable populations have an opportunity to still be serviced. Well, my background is in clinical psychology, and right now I'm at Meharry Medical College, where I'm finishing my work on not only public health policy, but mental health as it relates to the overall syndemics and overall population health.
I will go next. My name is Dr. Corporal Deontay Carter. Served 5 years in the United States Marine Corps, crossed over into the United States Army due to fiscal cuts for fiscal year 2010. So 3 years, 3 months in the United States Army, twice deployed in the United States Marine Corps for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and then once deployed to Iraq for within the Army for Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then when President Barack Obama signed the executive order to transition that to Operation New Dawn for us to leave, was a part of those efforts as well. I'm a proud father of 4 sons, 17-year-old identical twins that are 10 and a 7-year-old. I am the founder of the Diara Movement magazine that's getting ready to get greenlit by the Akron, Ohio Urban League.
Awesome.
This is going to be a magazine that's going to celebrate Black excellence, multicultural excellence. So similar to Jet, Ebony, Essence, this is going to highlight Black businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and so it's something to where I want to be able to create a space so then we can have a Rolodex of who are holistic leaders, who are nonprofit leaders, business owners, being able to support because only 3% goes to Black business. And this trajectory needs to change in that regard. I was a victim advocate, I'm a survivor of sexual violence. Um, and it's something to where I look forward to this discussion thus forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Uh,
sharing. Um, Guess I'll hop in. I'm Donald Osgood, Donald Maurice Osgood Sr., out by way of Boston, Massachusetts. I visited a few of the places where you all are. So for the last 22 years, I've been doing violence prevention work, street work, response to community violence, on scene with homicides and things like that. Not law enforcement, but through the city of Boston via the Boston Public Health Commission for 6 years. And then prior to that, kind of all encompassing. I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, but they're an organization that I worked with and partnered with for the last few years, where they support families in that first 24 to 72 hours of a homicide. I'm also an ordained pastor since 2014, officially in that capacity. And then also I attend Wellspring Global Fellowship, pastored by Apostle Tracy Jackson. And, I'm a community leader. I do a lot in the community, you know, my whole life. Um, I was one of the people that contributed to community violence in the late 80s, early 90s. And, by the grace of God, he gave me an opportunity to give back. So, it's what I do in whatever form I can. And lastly, I am on the board of the American Public Health Association, Human Rights Forum. So, in that capacity, I try to give others who don't have opportunities to be on that platform, and also work alongside some of my colleagues from around the country and around the world that, fight to change policy. A lot of what we deal with in the mental health field and, community violence field is policy. Some policies that
yes.
we probably don't even think about as we are fighting. And then it's like once you see the fine print, the fighting is in vain unless we change those policies. So thank you for having me, and I'm blessed to be in all of you all's presence.
Well, we are happy
I
to
guess I'm
have you
last.
here. Yes, Dr. Cloud, go ahead.
I'm Dr. Cloud. I think I'm the youngest on this panel today. Um, I am a social work supervisor. I oversee foster care division. I'm working with teenagers from 13 to 17 and a half. I'm a professor at a few universities. I'm teaching in the BSW, MSW program, preparing the next generation of social workers. I sit on the board of directors for two organizations. One is Locked Out Love, which works with incarcerated individuals and reentry back to society. And the second organization is Daymart Recovery Services, which is a mental health organization here as well. And I sit on the board of directors as their youngest board member too. As I always tell people, I'm always the baby somewhere in the room, so it's always true no matter where I go to. And I'm just so happy to be here.
Very good. Well, let's get into it. And I am going to invite you, actually, Dr. Cloud, to maybe answer a couple of these questions. Or our first question: what does it mean to you to be emotionally present as a Black man in a culture that has historically asked Black men to be strong and silent?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you that question is always tough because I think each day I'm still figuring it out myself. In today's society, today or the culture or norms, trying to show up in a culture where Black men are not allowed to have emotions, or being told to man up, to not cry, to toughen up, it's still something I'm figuring out. But I think having a village. And I come from a strong, I think like Dr. Robinson said, or I think maybe Dr. Henderson, I come from a strong family of females. I have a strong female family, and I'm one of the few men in my family, and also one of the babies. And so my grandmother, my mother, have always kind of let me experience my emotions. Growing up as a child, they never tried to condition me to live by the societal norm that I'm not allowed to cry, that I'm not allowed to show emotions, and that I'm not allowed to kind of show weak, that I'm not allowed to be weak or fear or be upset at my failure. And I think that's kind of what has helped me kind of thrive in my adulthood. Is kind of remembering that my family has allowed me that space to be vulnerable, when society has not never allowed me that opportunity to be.
That is profound. I want to open this question up to the group, because when I look at this group, you all are doing a lot, and the question comes to mind: how is it that you are balancing your mental health, your families, your job, your community responsibilities? How do you do it? If you could give us practical tips about how you do this, I think it would be helpful to our audience.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Um, I rest. I rest. I don't look at it as a sign of weakness to rest. I don't look at it as a sign of weakness to ask for help. That is the philosophy I follow. That is the mantra that breathes life into me. When you have a village of people that care, and there's adversity that's coming all directions here and there, um, but I rest. I give myself space. I give myself grace. I don't overload my plate. I plan my itinerary accordingly. I make enough space and create the space for my little emperors and do everything that I can to be supportive for them. And um, whether it's mentorship, whether it's me being a father of four, I rest. I I I think realistically and not whimsically, and just plan my itinerary accordingly, however best around my life, my livelihood, and just continue to just have that balance.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'd like to hitchhike on that, on Dr. Carter, because you said rest, and so that really points me to what I would consider to be a circadian lifestyle, a return to the original rhythms of the planet. I want to go all the way back to the source code of Acumelin. You see, so that my body is completely aligned with the sun, the moon, and the earth, so that I let my life go through the seasons. Sometimes I'm up and I'm bright and I'm sunny. Other times it's winter in my life, and I allow that
Mm.
to happen. And I'm in the
Yes.
liminal space of life where transitions happen. I spend more time in transition than I ever do at either one of the equinoxes, as it were, of my life. So I try to tell people to get regulated with the earth and the rhythms, because here it is. For as long as we've been on the planet, these bodies have been learning how to deal with all manner of everything that humans deal with that keeps us alive and well, and is perfectly good at it. All we have to do is align ourselves to those natural rhythms and let the natural rhythms of our body love what it loves. The women in our lives, the men in our lives, our children, our commitments to each other. When you get aligned like that, you can be present in the face of most anything.
Yes.
I'll go.
Would
Just
any
for me, I'm sorry. I was going to say for me, it's just listening listening to gospel music, music that helps soothe my soul, and then also being around a team of people who are there to encourage me. In fact, I just got a call. I had to kind of mute of a friend of mine who just checks on me. You know, I've known her for years, and she'll say, "Hey, Kurt, how you doing? I'm praying for you." And then I attend 2 Bible studies, Zoom sessions, and so these are things that really help me to stay sane.
Yeah. And then I just jump in right there too. Definitely praying a lot. You have to find safe spaces to talk. Um, so I find those spaces. I'm also a part of the Black Social Worker Collective. Not a social worker by trade, but this is a group of people that I do a lot with, and they check on me, and answering my phone too. Recently, the last couple of years have been a little crazy for me. I went through a heavy divorce. Not sure if anybody's been through one, but those are heavy. A lot of things change, and then some stuff with my job recently, but I wasn't answering the telephone. So I had to learn how to answer the phone and allow people to support me because that myth that men don't cry, things like that, it's a myth. We have the same capacity to grieve, cry, be happy, sad that everybody else does, although society says don't. And that's what's helped me through this rough time. Finding a new church home was important, because sometimes you can be places where we're so spiritually minded high that we don't come low enough to support one another. And you think about suicide amongst black men and boys, especially within churches. We live sometimes in a false reality, and so finding a place where we are living for real, like God doesn't want you to be up here all the time, because it wouldn't be in the scriptures where we see our prophets, you know apostles going through real life situations and then relying on God. So all those things together helped me stay grounded, where I'm able to even be on this panel with some amazing people today.
So I'll give some really quick practical things that I do. And I have to, but believe me, but my day, back on what Donald says, it starts with thanks, prayer. Then I get on a vibration plate to get my body, my mind going. If you don't have one, I strongly encourage you to grab one of those. And then it's a glass of water. And then I go outside to the back yard and deck and try to get some sun, and just literally take that on, and I try to do something called diaphragmatic breathing, and just holding it in deep breaths, exhaling, and just resetting my mind. It's the things we expected and undid, and then after that, I'm going into a plan which I've probably set up because I'm a planner the night before, the day before, and really trying to prioritize on now and what can be done later. And with that, I love who said music. I believe Donald, you might have said that or mentioned. No, it was Curtis mentioned music. I may start off and playing with whatever my mood is at that time. And just really setting myself up to have a great day. When we know there are going to be interruptions, the best laid plans of mice and men, but I'm very systematic about my day and being prepared. And like you said, Dr. Elizabeth. It's always something moving. We all have our hands in a number of things, and then there's always something you need to reach out for that wasn't expected, particularly as it relates to our community and with an eye on our children, right? As a girl dad, it's something that's always front and center in your mind. But you know, there are other things which are necessary beyond our immediate circles that we have to take on as God has called us and given us abilities and talents to address some things beyond our own circle. So I haven't quite got to the circadian time there, Dr. Robinson, but I work on it every day to fit within my plan.
If you're doing that morning walk, the way you just talked about that morning movement, if you're doing that at the liminal hours between 6:30 a.m. and 7 o'clock, where the sun is about 10% up in the sky, dude, you are getting your clock set. And when you are, it's kind of like getting right with God. I hear the spiritual talk in here. So this is a kind of physical, behavioral way to get in full alignment with God, with full alignment with the Christ within, with full alignment with the ancestors. This has been going on for hundreds of millions of years. And when we align with that, the whole thing comes online. The human being in this moment taking care of loved ones and being blessed with the talent to care for a few things beyond our circle, to be willing to show up like strangers but walk away in love, you know?
Yes.
That's where I'm feeling something about you folks right now.
Well, I wanted to ask the group about, because we talked about practical things people can do to maintain or to maintain balance, but the experience of being a Black father is a unique experience. You deal with generational trauma, racism, their economic pressures. And so I wanted to ask you each about how they have showed up for you in your lives and in your family, and how they have affected, if at all, your experience in fatherhood.
I'll jump in. I'll say this. As a Black man, as a Black father, and I opine on this a lot. Credit to Dr. Kimberly Williams Crenshaw, the coined term by her, the concepts of intersectionality has really hit home these past couple of weeks, dealing with the redlining issue, boosting me out of, basically bolstering me out of my home. I dealt with racism with my children in the car. Um, Reference to jungle and then something that hops by a bystander that was at a gas station. And the community surrounded me and protected not only myself, but my children. And, criminal justice system did something right this time and apprehended this gentleman, this not so gentle of a man, but he had a bottle of alcohol this tall with 4 shots left. So drunken and disorderly and, racist kind of things popping off in that regard. So when dealing with that, it was again, I rest. I embrace the fact that I am present within my children's life and present with the community and giving back, not monetary, not always monetary, but spiritually, with empathy and understanding, and just doing my best to take time for myself, refill myself, because if I'm pouring into everyone else, how am I going to be able to sustain moving forward, bolstering forward? Again, Dr. Crenshaw's a Canton, Ohio native, by the way. Um, Dr. Kimberly Williams Crenshaw, um, I just really align with those intersections and how they adversely or celebratorily bolsters me or sets me back. And it's something that I don't have control of. My melanin, I have no control of that. Uh, how I talk, you could get all the education and all the kind of coaching to get that together. But all in all, we are who we are. So I stay authentic. I stay grounded. I I live by the philosophy of Emperor James Baldwin. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. I do things with purpose. I don't speak on it. I am all about it. I be about it. And
Yes.
I teach my sons, my little emperors, how to be gentlemen. And when they're faced with adversity, go the route of Dr. Martin Luther King and Dr. Bernice A. King and just handle it peacefully, nonviolently, and just have that resiliency, that poise, and to stay focused and be present, but then also learn from failure. Don't dwell in it. Learn from it. Use it as a lesson.
Very good. Would anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll take a jump on it. I mean, I'm in Boston, Mass, and so, I know a lot of people say, are there black people in Boston? There's a whole lot of black people in Boston, but the systemic racism that we deal with is more covert. And really navigating that as a black man, black father, really having to teach, you know, your children how to navigate that type of work. My youngest son, I won't call the college out, but my youngest son is about to go into his fourth year of college. And, he's a quarterback, great quarterback, but systemic racism, you know, I'll say more so in Mass than a lot of places, but I'm sure it's everywhere. Is black men and boys are not leaders. We're more in the eyes of society, we're workers or laborers and things like
Mm,
that, right? And so having to help my son navigate that at the school so that he can stay focused enough to still get his degree, one of the best business colleges in the country. Um, but his passion for football is what opened the door for him, along with his academics, to be there. And so, him knowing that he is great, and me and his mom continuously remind him that he is great, and what others may say does we don't want him to let that resonate with him so that he doesn't continue to walk in his purpose. And then when you think of generational trauma, just my father passed in 2022, and some of the things he shared with me that he went through, I understand we all go through it, but that type of pressure, always having to go the extra mile just to be able to be at the same level as someone else, it's a lot of work. But my faith and teaching my children to have faith and to you know not respond how we're being treated, is a battle at all levels. And then we talk economic pressure, knowing that you're more skilled than many, but because of the color of your skin, you get the short end of the stick a lot of times when it comes to pay scales and things like that. So those are things that I think about a lot, but I try to encourage my sons and daughters to not let that discourage them to stay focused and continue to fight because we're always in a fight. And that's also just closing it out with, the thought of a healthy family. That's why I work in the realm of policy because I don't want this to be for the next 100 years, of us fighting to be at an even playing field. So, it's a lot, but there's also a lot of hope because there's a lot of great minds right here on this platform. And I know a lot of other people and many other platforms that are fighting the same fight. And as we continue to align with one another, especially the Black fathers, to teach
Yes.
our young men and boys that we're not enemies. If we can link our arms together and fight together, then man, there's nothing that we can't accomplish.
Yes.
Does anyone else want to add to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Let me hop in here on this one. This is you're talking to somebody right now who grew up in the Jim Crow South and lived with the full weight of that civic rupture landing personally on my body and on the body of my family members. I'm accustomed to parking in the back of the drive-in, not being able to drink at the fountain, and seeing my uncles and fathers fight the battle to get me out of the bathroom because I walked into the wrong damn one. All right, at 5 or 6 years old. So I want to be clear that I come from a place where it's important for the African American man to stand on his own groundless ground, to require no authorization from anything, anywhere in this society to maintain one's sense of self and dignity, to maintain one's sense of identity and narrative about who I am, how I am, and what's possible for me. Because what then that gives me then is a tool to carve like a knife against a piece of wood, and the wood being American society, which is racist at its core.
Yes.
To be able to carve out for me those places that where authentic partnership with the white other, with the Asian other, with the Latin other, with all others in a way that we can have a bit of mutuality, have a bit of supportive structure, and have a bit of collectivism that is also rooted in a bit of a competition. So I could earn a little bit and push a little bit and make you a little better, make me a little bit better. But I recognize that those are carve outs. And when I do that for myself, I know that they are always already at risk of rupture.
Mm,
And it's okay with me that they don't last forever. It matters to me that they last long enough to get the goods out of to convey my family, my kids, my life story to the next depot on the invisible underground railroad that has to be going on around here anyway, if you're getting someplace. Now, I just want to get off my high horse and say that whatever it is that we're doing to talk to each other right now, to get back closer to each other right now, to find a way to love, not hate, to join, not resist each other, this is the key to what's next. And
mm,
and
Yes.
and because what is going down right now, this thing is going to come shambling down around us. And the only thing that's ever saved this place, that's ever built this place, has been us in this place. So what we have to do is hold to each other, hold tight, let the weather pass, and then start building again. Because that's what there is to do.
mm. Thank you.
I,
Cool.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Kurt.
Now, I was going to say, I just keep hearing the statement, it takes a village to raise a child. I grew up in a single female-headed household, didn't have a father around. And so there were a lot of things that I didn't get that I got from men on the outside who basically sat down with me and and they seeded life into me. And so what I've done is I became an educator and a counselor, in reference to these men who showed me that, we all need help, right? So then I wanted to go into the helping profession. From that perspective, I have learned to listen to young people, right? I developed an African American male support group, Project Brotherhood. And so in this group, it gives these young men of color an opportunity to talk about challenges. We talk about financial literacy. We talk about racism. We're given an opportunity to really air out, the dirty things that go on in society that adversely affect our spirit. And then so this is my way of giving back. Educating is so essential. I used to speak at the detention centers, and so some of the young men, they looked at me like, he's this white man, in a black body. And so when I shared with them, the things that I've experienced growing up in the inner city, being on welfare, being in a very violent, written community, they begin to open up and see that we have a connection. And I then ask them questions. A lot of times older people sometimes we don't listen. We just are quick to lecture, but young people want to be listened to. And I listen to them, and then I ask them questions that kind of help them see where their thinking is off or where it's on point, right? And so I say all this to say that it's really about getting people together, these young people, and listening, and then allowing them an opportunity just to basically assess how they view the world, and then we can then chime in and offer our information. And I think once they see how we listen, it makes them more apt to want to listen to what we have to say.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Did you want to
I'll
add?
just add this. Yeah, just a quick thought. Thursday night, we actually had that type of conversation, an intergenerational conversation with some, 50s to 15. And that was one of the things that the young people brought up about us as adults listening, and then we also talked about as adults having the patience, to 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 see our young people get it. Because sometimes, we want things to be just like that. And, when we were young, we didn't get it just like that. It took us some time. So thank you for sharing that.
So
And I'll
we've
say,
talked about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, doctor.
no, just briefly, I think we have to be deliberate. Curtis made a wonderful point, as Donald talked about, as far as listening to our youth. But I also think there needs to be uh, a dynamic within the home where there's time set aside to discuss what's going on in society today, because it's so abrasive to the workplace, to the classroom, even at the highest levels of academia are affected. There's a gag order across the agencies where, as far as business goes and consulting, some things simply can't be talked about when it comes to complex health policy, which are pivotal to what happens to your life, your Medicaid, Medicare, on a state level, the city level. So you've got to talk to your children, your teenagers, your young folks, as how that's going to impact you, how it shapes what's going on, how it matters. When grandma can't get that medicine at this number, and now it's 3 times, it impacts dynamic. The, the, the head of that family, or that, you've got to have real conversation with the family and talk about what we're polarized America, and at the same time provide real solutions how you go about navigating that during the day. When you hear something in the classroom, I can't tell you how many times I get a call from a young man that just doesn't gel with what he may have gotten from home, or what he read in the history book, or what was in the curriculum as we sit here in Atlanta, Georgia, and really give them the foundation that perhaps this is another perspective. This is where your part of the history comes from, and along the diaspora. So it's key that we have these honest conversations, and we redirect and we arm our kids, our children, and our peers, our family in general, to be prepared for what they're going to see across social media, how they're bombarded with negative news. And all often we're at the bottom rung of that end result. And so how do they prepare for it? I believe it begins with the Black father within that home. My daughter is approaching 9, but I will say she is armed with some conversation. She may not grasp all of it, but she knows enough to say, that doesn't gel with what Daddy said. I'm going to talk to him about it when I get home. And I do the same thing with young men, whether they're in my family or outside of it, because I think it's mission critical today.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
let me hop on that one. That's so spot on. These 3 gentlemen have really, really opened the door here. There once was a time on Dr. Henderson where Black church tradition was the cauldron in which all of that got whipped together so that it got ladled out into every household where they had those conversations, right? And that once was a time when the only kind of education we got came from someone who came up in that tradition that looked just like you, that happened to be educated adjacent to the tradition, if not all the way in it. And those were mechanisms, I call them coherence engines. They are the cultural transmission devices that have thinned. I want to just call it thinning. They used to be real thick in our lives. Now they're thin. The membrane is very thin. It hardly holds us together. We hardly hang together in those spaces anymore. There used to be over 100 Black private schools, for boarding schools. At its peak, 107. There are none today. None. 20 years ago, there were 9. Right. So what am I saying here, Dr. Henderson? It is in the home. It is in what moms and dads say to each other. It is what moms and dads say to other moms and dads in those local associations, whether it be a Black church or a union hall or in these days or a pickleball court. Because it's wherever those associations happen, we have to have those conversations so that they do trickle down to our young people, and that when they encounter the alternative view of the world, they can just hold that as that's on that station. That's just what they're showing on MTV. Because at BET, where I get the news from, we have a different interpretation of what happened today. And so blackness is actually a thing. It's the richness of and the strength and the ability to metabolize grief and hardship and all of this noise around us into dignity, into honorable, integral relationships with each other. That's what Blacks do. That's what walking across that bridge was about. That's what got the dreamer to dream that and to speak that. And he didn't get that from on high as much as you want to think he's a holy guy. He got that from walking the streets and dealing with the real realities of everyday people doing everyday situations in Black cloistered situations. We just need to get together with each other. That's all I'm saying.
I want to make a point here, and this is really kind of debatable, but I grew up in a single female headed household with around a lot of violence. My brother was very abusive, in and out of jail. Sister was a sex worker. Youngest sister was a crack addict. And so I grew up in this environment, and I was abused by family members as well as people in the streets. But then when I went to college, I went to a predominantly white school. I sang in men's chorus. I was in a group of 100 men and maybe 5 Black people out of 100 men. And I experienced racism singing with these guys, going into their homes when we did tours. And so what I've come to learn from a spiritual standpoint is that it's really not about black or white. These are, I think, constructs. I think what it really is about is the human spirit, because people may say, well, white
Mm.
people have done terrible things. Black people have done terrible things to me too. But and then many years I thought, where do I fit in? Because the black people didn't accept me. They were like, you act like you're too white. You think you're too good, And then the white people were like, you're black. And so it's like I felt like, where do I belong? And so these two situations, these two sides, have brought me to a place where now I look at people's heart and not look at their skin color, but really look at the needs of the people, looking at the spirit, because that's where the goal lies. I just felt a need to say that.
Oh, that is powerful. We talked about some really heavy, 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 heavy situations, racism, trauma, and I guess I want to, and it sounds like for many of us, community has been incredibly important. But how do you go about, because there are a lot of different communities, right? Like, how do you go about finding those communities or creating those communities if that's if they're none available to you? Like, what would you say to those fathers or surrogate fathers that are out there and want to create that type of environment?
I can speak on that one because I've just been listening in because it's been so informative. I would say that you have to know who you are yourself. And two, you have to find people who are like-minded, who have the same ideologies as you, who may not have the same culture as you, but the same ideologies. And what I mean by that is, we hear the southern phrase "birds of a feather flock together," right? Or the type of people you hang with kind of promotes who you are as a person. And so I think when we're building community, in the capacity that I look at it is, I look for people who are like-minded, who kind of have the same ideology as me, and that's kind of how I built my community. How I kind of look at exactly when I am. How do you treat your kids? How do you treat the people around you? When somebody's not looking, what exactly how exactly are you acting when nobody's actually watching, right? And those are the type of people that I want in my community, because what I realize is that people will show you one thing and be a completely different person outside of the environment that you're in, versus the people who will show you their self 24/7. They don't change when they're home alone, when they're out in public, when they're with their family. Nothing about them changes. They're the same person, and so that's the type of person that I look for in my community, because those people are who are going to push you and who are going to kind of hold you accountable too. And I never want anybody who's not going to hold me accountable. Dr. Robinson and Mr. Curtis said something earlier about how we need the older generation to get back to the younger generation. And I believe that your community should always have a mixture, because how do we expect for the younger generation to learn, or as my grandma loves to say, to get some sense about yourself, if we don't have the seasoned, I don't say elders, I say the seasoned people in your life to kind of guide you to kind of be in your community, to make sure that you're going to thrive, and you're going to thrive well. You don't want to see those seasoned individuals who are going to be your downfall. You want the seasoned individuals who are going to uplift you because they see something in you that you didn't see in yourself. So that's how I kind of build and look for my community. I ain't
I'll
calling
jump
y'all
in.
old either. I just say season for a reason. This is
Oh yeah, I like that season statement. Go ahead, Dr. Carter.
Yeah, no, reason for the season. I mean, Dr. Cloud elaborated on that beautifully. Um, I'm going to throw a lot of plugs in here in this conversation. The Boys and Girls Club, the NAACP, the Urban League. These are all communities that help bolster Black business, Black financial wellness. Um, these are spaces that talk about the uncomfortable conversations of Black gun violence. Um, they hold summits. They intentionally do community directives, and they advocate. So I genuinely would say the up and coming Black nonprofits that are coming out, whether, and again, the seasoned nonprofits, the NAACPs of the world, Boys and Girls Clubs of the world, the urban leagues, your local urban leagues. Um, they're wonderful starts to help with Black business. The MBAC program is a program that helps Black entrepreneurs become small business owners, and they just do so much. They create so many spaces for seminars and ways to attain financial literacy. Um, this whole weekend, Juneteenth weekend, it is going to be beautiful in Cincinnati, Akron, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. These are spaces where you find community. These are spaces that celebrate Black brilliance and Black excellence. So being able to go and participate in these events, getting your name out there, being transparent with who you're comfortable with being transparent with and vulnerable with, and genuinely being intentional of connecting, not artificially, intentionally, genuinely.
Yes.
And you have to be authentic about it, because we're in a society that doesn't celebrate Blackness, in a society that doesn't recognize that the Black British Moors created the aqueduct system, and how the Black British Moors created just so much. They were innovators. A lot of it is producing. They want to create these spaces and these silos of, oh, this came from whiteness, and a lot of whitewashing happening right before our eyes in spaces like this, in spaces like the Urban League, and spaces like the NAACP would be a phenomenal start, as well as Juneteenth weekend. So definitely look on your community calendar, see what's going on for Juneteenth weekend, and being able to get connected and find out about these um, different community initiatives that you can add onto your Rolodex, that you can add onto your phone. Put it on your phone and put it on your calendar. Like, these are things that are helpful, and genuine tools that you can glean from, learn from, and have community.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Well, I want to ask, as we're nearing the end of our segment, I want to ask each of our guests to, there are lots of fathers, surrogate fathers who are out there listening. Um, if there's a specific quote saying that has really been helpful to you as you've gone through your journey in fatherhood, if you could leave each and every one of us with one of something to take home, and how we might be able to get in contact with you.
Uh,
Yes, Dr. Carter, would you like to
oh,
start?
quick.
Or Dr. Kurt, would you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just had a scripture in mind, and please forgive me, I don't know exactly, I can't quote it, but it talks about the race is not given to the swift nor to
Mm.
the strong, but to them that endure. And that's been my life mantra right there, because I've been enduring through the grace of God a lot of traumatizing experiences, and I'm just so thankful that I'm here in my right mind to be able to share with you just how good God is, and just how far He's brought me thus far. Feel like singing when the old Negro spirit is right about now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, yeah. And I can be reached on Facebook under Kurt Lamar actor, and then on Instagram, Lamar Kurt, Lamar with two R's, Kurt KurtLamarr. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for this opportunity. I really enjoyed this moment. Thank you.
I'll give you two. And he'll wipe every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more, nor mourning, nor outcry, nor pain. All the former things have passed away. Revelations 21:4. And then each one teach one. Black fathers out there, no matter what you do, sit down, be present, with your black empresses, your black emperors. Do everything as small as throwing the football before the bus comes. Do something as big as talk about the Black Wall Street Massacre of 1921, the Red Summer of 1919. Education is key because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And you all can follow me on Instagram, Dr. Ante Cartier. You can follow me on Facebook, Ante Cartier. I have a poetry channel with on Instagram, the Poetic Odyssey of Ante Cartier / Dr. Handsome, both Facebook and Instagram. And then you all can follow me on LinkedIn, Dr. Corporal Deontay Carter.
Thank you. Dr.
I'll
Cloud?
go. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Dr. Cloud.
John.
Sorry, I was trying to find my mute button. So you can find me at Black Man Needs Love Too on Instagram. And I think the quote, I have two, but I'm just gonna use the one I've kind of been using with a lot of my teenagers. And I'm probably gonna butcher the. It should come from Matthew's 6:25. I'm just gonna give y'all the other version, which is if he dresses the lilies, then in his beauty and splendor, then how much can he clothe you? It's a lot. It's one that I use with my teenagers. Basically, it's saying that if God can give people everything that they pray for, then why do you think that he can't give you what you've been praying for? If you don't have faith, then of course he cannot bathe you in his glory. So I think that's one of the quotes that I kind of live by, especially when I work with my teenagers, is that you gotta have faith somewhere. You gotta always believe that no matter what their circumstances are, you'll always find a way through them.
Thank you. I'll just jump in. And I'm gonna share something that my dad shared with me a few years ago. Um, by the grace of God, I have older children, and then I have my younger two. And when I got myself together, I wanted to be a better parent, so I called my dad to ask him, man, I don't know what I'm doing, trying to get this together. And my dad said, son, you're doing a hell of a job. He said, there's a lot of books on parenting. He said, but those books don't apply for everyone because each situation is different. He said, but it's very rare that a parent is a bad parent where they do things to their children, to harm them. He said, usually what it is a parent is making the best decision that they feel is the best decision at the time for their child, even if it's the wrong decision, right? And that help me navigate and be a better father to all my children, because I understood what he was saying to me was, you love your kids and you want to see them be the best version of themselves. And so I live by that, and I share this because sometimes we don't feel like we're getting it right. But as long as the intention is right, because you want to see your children do better than you did, that's it right there. And a lot of more things I could say, but if you want to connect with me, Donald Maurice on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and DM Osgood SR at gmail.com. You can email me as well. And just thank you again for this opportunity to be present with so many great minds.
Yes, thank you for being here,
So
Dr.
I'll go
Robinson and
next.
Dr. Henderson. Very good.
Uh, um, well, have two quotes that are really central to me from Romans. For as one man's of disobedience, many were made sinners. So the obedience of one shall be made righteous. I think it's apropos for what we're seeing today in our leadership. And I'll stop there. My daily affirmation comes from Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called, like many of the men here, obviously, and yourself, good Dr. Elizabeth, to serve His purpose according to His will. I will say you can reach out to me at LinkedIn, as I've shared, and at Ed Henderson 8, and you can find me on YouTube at Edward Henderson underscore syndemic underscore epigenetic underscore rebirth. It's really, really a pleasure to join you all today. And I think it is critical that we continue to examine mental health in the diaspora, the Black family. It's critical not only to our individual segments of life, but the entire world depends on our stewardship of the spiritual as well as the scientific.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Wow,
you.
that's beautiful.
Dr. Robinson.
That was beautiful. I'm glad to follow Dr. Edwards after such well placed words. When it comes to being a great father, a great husband, good at anything in life, whatever it is you're striving for, I have these words. These are the ones I live by. Forget about your likes and dislikes, for they are of no consequence. Just do what must be done. This may not be happiness, but it is greatness.
Yes.
Full stop. You can find me, Dr. Marcus Robinson. That's all you got to do is type it in anywhere. You're going to find a link to me somewhere. Dr. Marcus Robinson, all one word. You will find me on pretty much anywhere. Adaptive terrain. Now, this is what I really needed to tell you. Now, thank you for letting me go just one more second.
Okay.
The Adaptive Terrain Institute is designed to, it has programming in it, that has educational program in it, transformational program in it, that is designed to help people embody this way of being that I'm sharing and talking about. It's not a knowledge thing, because you're already smart enough. It's not a courage thing, because if you got this far, you can get through anything. But it is a certain stance and way of being in the world. Once you hold that ground, that groundless ground, and then you're standing on nothing but logos, because I hear y'all quoting from the Bible now, so I'll go there with you. You're standing on nothing but Holy Ghost, logos. Well, then when that is your source of power in the place where you stand, well, then, then all things do work out good for those that love the Lord. I mean, that's how that works. And it all boils down to forget about everything else. Just do what must be done to honor oneself as logos. To honor
You better say it,
oneself.
bro.
That's it. There ain't nothing else to do. You do that, you've been a man, you've been a husband, you've been a father, and more importantly, you're being the fulfillment of all the dreams of all the old folks from Acapella. Full stop.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all our guests today. This has been such a wonderful conversation. It's a needed conversation. And to everyone listening, especially the fathers who are carrying more than they ever have said out loud, you are not alone. There is support available and healing is possible. Thank you so much.
Wow. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.